Hey Facebook, I'm Dan Lieberman with CNN in New York, and I'm here with author and religious scholar Reza Aslan. He's got an awesome new show premiering this weekend called Believer. It's a spiritual journey, an awakening around the world. And actually, we're taking questions from you guys on Facebook, so please just put it in the comments section, and we'll ask questions that you have here. But just to start off, Reza, tell us about this show. I mean, how did this all happen?
Well, I've wanted to do a show like this for a while. I'm a big Anthony Bourdain fan, and I always thought somebody ought to do a Bourdain show, but with faith instead of food. And I brought it up to CNN, and they were like, "Let's do this." It was very quick.
It couldn't come at a better, more important time. I mean,
true. Yeah.
So what do you do in this series? I mean, how did you pick these religious sects, these places to go in the world?
So I go around the world and I immerse myself in various religious communities, usually religions that are somewhat on the fringes or the margins, religions that are maybe misunderstood or often mischaracterized. So for instance, like voodoo or Scientology, or in the initial episode, this sect of Hinduism called the Agor. And through my experience, through my journey into their communities, I try to kind of understand a different worldview, a different way of thinking, and more than anything else, to sort of recognize the ideas that we hold in common, even with people who may seem totally foreign than us.
One of the things that you do that is so unique about the show is, I mean, you really get into it. I mean, you don't hold back. You do the rituals. You eat the food or the brains in one of the episodes. I mean, was that hard for you to kind of fully immerse yourself and go that far? I mean, what was the point of that?
Listen, it wasn't easy. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, oh yeah, it was a breeze. No, it wasn't. And I, have my own personal inhibitions and things like that I had to overcome. But I basically made a deal with these communities. I said, let me in, and I will come without judgment. I will come without mockery, and I will accept what you want from me. And in exchange, open up, let us in. Tell us who you are and what you believe. So it was a deal. It was a deal that I made. So then when they give me something,
do you think
I do it.
do you think we all need to do more of that? I mean, I want to ask you about what you did in India with the Agori. I mean, you crossed over. You were scared. I mean,
yeah.
Do you think that people need to be scared and to actually cross a bridge and see these extremes to sort of bridge the gap?
I think right now we're living in a world in which it's very divided, polarized, particularly on religious and ethnic and racial terms. And so we're kind of used to seeing people who don't look like us, who don't maybe dress like us, who don't pray like us, as just somebody who is not us, somebody who is other, someone that we can define ourselves against. And I guess what I'm trying to do, not just with this show, but with everything that I do, is to convince people that those are just externals, that underneath it all, we are very much the same, that there is this connectivity between us. Even when it comes to religions, you may look at the Agori and think that's about as far from my experience as possible, but once you understand what it is that they are trying to do and say, how they're trying to transform their society, suddenly it doesn't seem all that foreign. It actually seems pretty familiar.
And what did you learn? I mean, you're a practicing Muslim yourself, going and seeing these different religions, these sects. Did it teach you anything about your own beliefs, your own faith?
I think it strengthened my faith. I mean, I always say that you got to separate religion from faith. These are two different things. Faith is personal and individualistic and mysterious. Religion is the language you use to express that faith. And I just think of myself as, the translator. My job is to go around, as someone who speaks all these different languages, my job is to go around and to translate what people are saying so that you understand it. And if anything, this experience just made me more confident in that sense of mission that I have.
So what do you, from all these experiences you had, from India to the island in Hawaii, with a man who calls himself Jesus with a Z.
With a Z.
I mean, from all these places and experiences you had, what's the takeaway message for people out there? I mean, these are sects. Some of these are extreme practices.
Yeah.
What can we learn about our own faith, our own religion, whatever that may be, through your series?
Well, by the way, there's a reason why this show is not called Religions or Faiths, but it's called Believer. Because what I wanted to say is, no matter how you wrap your beliefs, whether you wrap it in religious terms or not, whether you call yourself an atheist or whether you call yourself a devout Christian, the things that make you who you are, the way that you understand the world, that's what I'm interested in. I want to draw connections between humans based on the human experience. And so this isn't a show just for, religious people, or it's a show for anyone who feels as though they have a unique perspective on the world. And this is a way to share that perspective with people that you may not in a million years think, have a similar view.
So what was the craziest moment for you? I mean, you were a little scared there in India, but was that the scariest moment?
That was the scariest moment. The India episode is the scariest moment for me. But, I went through like a 10-hour voodoo ceremony, which was exhausting and amazing and full of these sights and sounds, where I was constantly being given different animal blood to drink and not knowing how to deal with it. In an episode on Santa Muerte, I was in the middle of this amazing outdoor mass with all of the people who are attracted to a religion that's really for outcasts, for people who don't belong. And here I am holding hands with narco traffickers and gangbangers and also little old ladies and transvestite prostitutes, people who feel as though society has left them behind. These are people that, honestly, like if I were walking down the street and I saw them coming the other way, I would probably, move to the other side of the street. And yet here I am holding hands, weeping like a baby with them,
wow,
having this deep spiritual experience. I mean, those are experiences that I'll never forget.
I mean, in Israel, you took a look at the ultra-Orthodox in Israel, and what did you learn there about the relationship between the ultra-Orthodox and the government there? I mean, and it really, in a lot of these episodes, it really connects to the news happening right now.
I'm glad you said that, yeah, which is why I only wanted this show to be on CNN, because people who have these values, these beliefs, they put them in practice into the world. I mean, religion doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? I mean, it's about how you respond to the world around you. And so I wanted to make sure that each one of these episodes had, despite, the entertainment and the information, also had this kind of sort of newsworthy element to it. And in Israel especially, you have a fast-growing community of Jews who believe that the state should be predicated on religious law. And they are increasingly creating voting blocks. They are running for office. They're now ministers in the government. And there are a lot of, I think, more secular Jews who feel really threatened by that. And what I wanted to do was really explore that conflict between these two groups, both of whom have a clear definition of what it means to be, Jewish, what it means to be a citizen of Israel, but that definition does not match. And by the way, that's something that I think we can really relate to now in the United States, right? We're in the middle of a argument about what it means to be American.
And I want to come back to that. I just want to, for people who are just tuning in right now, I'm here with Reza Aslan. He has a new show coming out this weekend on CNN. It's called Believer. It's amazing. It's fascinating. A lot of viewers, a lot of people coming in, questions from around the world. We've got people saying hi from Nigeria, from Peru. Abbas is asking this question. Religions are all of the same origin, claiming they want to save mankind. What is your take on this point?
I mean, first of all, let's be clear. Religions are man-made things. And by the way, I mean man as in literally man, as in like, people with penises. And so we have to remember that what these religions are ultimately about is various expressions of transcendence, right? Whether you're a Buddhist or whether you're a Hindu or whether you're Jain or Christian or Muslim or whatever, the thing that you have in common is that you all agree that this isn't it, right? Mm-hmm. That the world, existence is not just about the material realm, that there is something else behind it.
Yeah, you've talked about, we all drink from different wells, right? But it's
but the
water.
Water's the same.
Water's the same.
Exactly. Different wells, same water. I think that's what, if I were to say, what do they have in common? That's the thing.
There's another question here from Jason. Jason Snow is asking, as a man in an interfaith marriage, how do you manage and overcome the stigma behind you and your spouse's religion?
Yeah, my wife is a Christian, comes from a very devout evangelical Christian family. The day that we met each other, we understood instantly that we shared the exact same values. Now, we express those values through different sets of metaphors, different languages, as I said before. Mine is Islam, hers is Christianity. Now, in this case, I already knew her language. I knew how to navigate the way that she describes her values, and she learned mine. And we've had no problem ever since then. Think about it this way. If a German man and a French woman fell in love with each other, very few people would say, how did you make that work? Well, one learns French and the other learns German. That's how you make it work. And that's what we've done. And now we have kids that we are raising to be multilingual. We want them to be literate not just in Christianity and Islam, but in all religions.
I mean, do you think it's hard being a Muslim in America today, especially given the political climate right now?
It's hard, but it's also exciting. Because in a way, our very identity as Muslims is being used to define the nature of the country as we know it. And so, to me, that's an opportunity. That means that my voice matters. Every Muslim's voice matters. And so, get out there, be a part of the conversation.
One of the things that you're really exploring in some of these, you're talking about extreme sects, extreme groups. Is it important for us all to sort of face the extreme elements of our religions, to understand and find common ground? Because it's interesting that you do that. You're sort of going to certain extremes, but is the point to find common faith?
Yeah, and I would say that I understand why a member of a religious community, when faced with extremist versions of their community, would want to pretend that it's not there, would want to say that it has nothing to do with them, whatever. But that's not true. The truth is that religion is whatever a religious person makes it. Your interpretation of your religion is as valid as anybody else's interpretation. It may not be as reasonable, it may not be as scripturally or historically sound, it may not be as good for humanity and the world as we know it, but it's an interpretation. So who's to say which interpretation is right and wrong? I think the important thing is that if you're a religious person and you are confronted with people hijacking your religion for nefarious reasons, your duty is to speak out against it. And if you speak out strongly against it, that's the way to counteract it.
You think President Trump's going to be watching on Sunday night?
Doesn't he have CNN on all the time?
He has it on.
Yeah, well, Mr. President, if you could please tweet something nasty about us, I would really appreciate it.
There's a question from Travis. If religions are man-made, what's stopping God from being man-made? We create God in our image. That's a question from Travis.
I think we define God in our image. There is no question about that. What we think of when we think of God, how we make sense of God, has everything to do with who we are as individuals. But God is just a word for a thing. It's a word for a feeling and emotion. It's a word for a choice. And it's the choice that I'm interested in. It's the feeling and emotion that I'm interested in. Call it whatever you want. Call it Fred if you want to. Define it how you want to define it. That's not important to me. It's the emotion that's important to me.
By the way, I'm going to be definitely watching this on Sunday night, but what time does it air? Tell people watching where they can see this and when.
It's Sunday night, 10 p.m. on CNN, 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on CNN.
It's awesome. Check it out.
And you can also catch it on CNN Go.
Absolutely. Check it out, guys. It's awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.